SHADDER2K is back, baby, as one of the greatest Genjis of all time. Unfortunately, just stunted out of his pro career by a wrist injury, SHADDER2K has finally graced us with his presence, back to streaming again. Now, if you think that this guy might be even a little bit washed, you would be absolutely wrong. When his first day, he went like 18-2 on Genji in GM plus matches, just dominating everyone. So let's break down this GOAT's VOD review so that we know how to give value on Genji every single time, just like SHADDER2K does. And speaking of SHADDER2K, I'm actually going to be doing another SHADDER2K VOD breakdown on the GameLeap website, so make sure that you go check it out if you don't want to miss out on any of his great Genji plays. So definitely go check it out in the links down below. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it, shall we? Now, kicking it right off at the start of the video, I want you to really notice how SHADDER2K will play very aggressively and take space aggressively. He does this so that he can constantly do damage, and this is what you should be doing every single game on Genji. Damage, damage, damage onto raw people, not just shields. You gotta remember that you not only want to be fishing for opportunity, but building that blade as fast as possible, because that's how you carry. Now, he only leaves when he's forced away and takes some damage. So in general, if enemies are not forcing you to leave, keep farming free ult charge, because instead of 25% SHADDER2K got, you could have even got away with 30 or 40% against much worse enemies that don't force you out. Now, right here in this moment, notice how aggressive SHADDER2K is at dashing the enemy Orisa. Why do you think SHADDER2K, the young Genji Chad himself, makes this play? Well, first off, Orisa is isolated and fairly safe to engage. Second off, she is a walking ult batter for Shatter, who gets another 20% off her. And third, she takes a ton of damage and is not only forced to use Fortify, but back off as well. Giving Orisa that space unpunished can make it even harder to play around the enemy Widow, who gets to conversely play much more aggressive, not to mention the rest of the team. Doing this created ult value, denied space, and that is something that you should look to do on isolated tanks in your games. And you might be asking, okay, what about other tanks? Well, you see, Orisa, Sigma, Rein, Diva, many of the tanks are the exact same, and Genji can aggressively push up to them and farm them if they overextend, getting free ult charge in the process. Now, later on in the video, I want you to really notice the beginning Shatter's positioning here when he's on the enemy's high ground. He can not only spam from this position, but he has clear lines of sight on his team's healers and an avenue to make easy flanks. Every time you're set up in a position, if you consider these four things, you will always be in a great position to do damage or get out. The first thing you need to consider is the spam, which is the neutral position. What avenues can you spam down and how easy can you spam? The better the avenues, the easier it will be to build ult charge, and this is very important for wherever you're holding. The second thing you need to consider is the heal. Are you in your healer's LOS or range? If you're in the LOS of a Moira, that's not good enough. You're not in her range. If you're in the range of your Ana, but not in her line of sight, that's not good enough. You really need to be thinking about where your healers are, or else you're not going to be able to stand your ground when contesting enemies. The third thing you need to think about is the play-making capabilities. How close are you positioned to set up a flank or make a play on the enemy? Are you within dash range of them if one of them is low? If this is true, you're in prime position to try to get some aggressive impact on the enemy. Now, the last thing you need to think about is the escape, and this could be substitute for heals. You don't always need to be playing where you can get heals, but you have to have an escape and a good one, like a dash away to a mega, so that you can get easily out of any danger that comes your way. Now, if these four things are true, you will have great positioning with more consistent plays, faster ultimates, and more survivability. So definitely ask your questions every single time you take a position. Now, right after this, I want you to notice the opportunity that presents itself to Shatter as he sees a Pharah low and chases her. Now, remember that you can always change your decisions on a fly, and you can always go in more or retreat based on things that happen. And as Genji, it is expected of you to be able to adapt. Well, there is a catalyst that happens, and during Shatter's engage, he gets nanoed, and this is the go-ahead to go even more aggressive at the Pharah. He uses consistent right clicks or alternate fire to pressure her, who ends up killing the Pharah, who falls with him as her boosters fade. He also made sure that when he falls to chase the Pharah, he makes contact with the ground again so that he gets his secondary jump to further chase the Pharah midair. This is all small things, but if he didn't do all these things correctly, he wouldn't have been able to get the kill on the Pharah, so they're very important to take note of. Now, speaking of adaptability on Genji, check out this play that happens right afterwards on the Ana. You see, Shatter is a safe distance away from the monkey and the Ana and only pokes to do damage, but just like with the Nano, a catalyst or an instant occurs. He hits the Ana not with one but two shurikens, and notice that her health total is lower than that 50% threshold. Now this is the adaptation that comes in, where instead of just using the dash to run away from the Winston, which is what he probably would have done before, he sees an opportunity to engage in on the Ana, who he has identified as a killable target. This is the type of adaptive decision making that I was referring to before that you need to add to your Genji skill set. Now the enemy Ana still has nade, but because of this quick decision making and expert mechanical skill close range by Shatter, he kills her, not only gaining another pick, but giving him another dash to run away from the still chasing monkey. Now, in order to go for plays like this, you need to build up a certain level of mechanical competence to start making these types of plays, but close range alt fire practice will get you there in no time. Just grind it a little bit in like on a trading bot or tryhard free-for-all. Now, moving along in the match, we gotta cover some blades, man, and check out the setup to this nano blade by Shatter. Far too many Genjis will rush a blade here, but realistically, there are few targets on the enemy team that Shatter can even kill because they have mobility. The non-healers on the enemy team is Diva, Monkey, Tracer, Genji, and all of these characters have mobility, and they cannot be the first target in a blade. He has a priority to target the Ana and the Brig, who not only have no mobility, but killed supports mean a one team fight, so they are definitely targets number 1 and 2. Another important factor here is it doesn't matter when the blade goes out. It is worth the time to set it up because a success with 91% on the clock means that a one fight is a one round. So the big takeaway here is take the extra time to set up a better blade and don't rush them if it's going to cost you a team fight altogether. Shatter not only identifies the enemies on a positioning and he waits till he does so, but he pushes himself forward to the top right of this building and wall climbs up to generate as much height as possible. He then dashes and blades almost directly vertical to the enemy Ana and Brig. This not only gives him a better view of them before he tries to go in for the slash dash, but I'm not sure if any of you have actually played Ana up against a nano blading Genji. Have you ever tried to sleep a Genji who is directly above you? It is extremely difficult to do so, and Shatter knows this. So in general, if you're up against an Ana, blading as high as you can directly above them makes the blade incredibly difficult to sleep. So after all that setup, the blade worked just how it should. He got 2 kills on the supports, plus damage on the tanks, who now have no way to heal up, which means the team fight is in the bag, and as such, the round is won as well. Now, in the last round of the map being 1-1, I want you to notice instantly the positioning that Shatter takes, and remember our positioning points we talked about before. In this position, Shatter has good spam of the enemy with clear avenues of line of sight to deal damage and build up ult charge. He has the ability to flank to the left if he wants to make a play. He has the LOS of his Ana, who can easily heal him here. I can't repeat this enough, and it's the fundamental reason why players are either building blades at the same pace as my grandma or feeding and dying extremely easy is because they don't think about these things. Often players will play an aggressive angle with poor escapes or no line of sight of their healers. Sometimes players will die because of this, so they'll circumvent it by playing right on top of their healers. And sure, you won't die, but you will build blade incredibly slowly if you're just playing with your supports the entire game. And I know what you might be saying. No matter where I play, my healers don't heal me. And I'm going to be frank with you here. 9 times out of 10, healers don't heal you because of your positioning, not because they just don't know that you have heals. Trust me, they are definitely paying attention to you. Now moving on to this next play, Shatter shows a perfect example of playing the front line with his team. He is pushing up with his team and doing constant damage and helping to break that shield, all while looking for an opportunity. The second a target is low enough, he engages and insta 180 dashes out, which is something that you should do in general, especially when you dash into the enemy team to confirm a kill. It is far too dangerous to think about and stay there, so if you get that dash reset, just dash right out so that you could secure your life and dodge any CC that's going to come your way. Another takeaway is to always be ready to dash in when a target is low and look to turn trash damage that your team is doing, which could easily get healed up, into definitive kills with your rather large amount of burst damage, which the dash is 50 damage minimum, but it's extremely easy for you to hit a couple of shurikens and turn that burst damage from 50 into 100, 120 plus. So that is something to keep in mind, and that is your job as Genji. Now afterwards, he also proceeds to use the momentum created to not only clean up the Brig, tank, but to chase down the Sigma, as it's Genji's job and prerogative to make sure that no one gets out safely and that the enemy team staggers fully, all while building up ult charge. Now, once again, we come into a blading Shatter scenario. Ooh, yes, the good stuff. And Shatter is going to gather a ton of information about where the enemies are routing to and doesn't force a blade. He never, ever forces a blade unless he has to. He also plays high up, making it easier to gather info, get nano from his Ana, and is better in general for blade execution and dodging CC, as we went over before. Now, once he sees the enemy routing to the right side, he signals the go-ahead to his Ana. A simple dash through 3 people and a 180 insta-slash kills 3 squishies right away. Even the enemy Sigma reacted with a gravitic flux, but because Shatter was patient and waited for the moment to turn his blade into insta value, the flux turned from a carry nanoblade stopper into a wasted ultimate, because that 3k already meant that the team fight was won and there was nothing that the Sigma could do to change that outcome. Now, something that's extremely important for you to understand is that the mechanical executions of these blades are comically easy. Even a boomer like me could pull off these blades. Now, the important key here is the setup. You don't need to blade like Necros to get the value to carry. While Shatter can do those kind of blades, those incredibly fast blades you see montages of, 90% of his blades are just like this. Smart setups that generate insta value. That way you build up consistency in blading and consistently carry fights instead of having a big margin for error where sometimes you win 1v6 and sometimes you die instantly and get no value at all. 90% of that has to do with not gathering enough information and not setting up blades in a consistent way that will win you a team fight the majority of the time. Now, I know what you're probably saying. You're probably saying, I can never get my Anas to nano me, so I can't carry like SHADDER2K can. And to that I say, if you start blading like SHADDER2K does, Anas will be begging to duo with you, and they'll nano you 24/7. I promise. So definitely don't use that as an excuse, and I promise you, if SHADDER2K was playing in a lower level with less consistent Anas who don't nano him, he would probably just be flanking constantly and just one-shotting like everyone in the background. I can absolutely guarantee it. Anyways, I hope this in-depth SHADDER2K VOD has been helpful for you. If you want to see the follow-up to this, I'm going to be doing a SHADDER2K blading guide, so definitely go check it out on the GameLeap website. But if you have any questions, definitely let me know in the comments down below, and let me know if there's any other streamers or notable players that you want to see an in-depth breakdown of, and I'll get right on it. Anyways, that's all I got for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and of course, until next time.